Hello everyone, today we are going to make a revision of the chapter that we have done. The topics that are included in this chapter are the topics that are related with the light. We start with how light travels, sources of light, luminous and non-luminous, how shadows form, eclipses, how reflection forms, laws of reflection, how light bends, refraction, laws of refraction, total internal reflection, the spectrum of the white light. How light travels. Well, we know that light is a kind of energy and it is essential in order to see things. Because if we need to see an object, we need a source of light, and the light strikes the object, and then this light enters into our eyes. In this form, we see the object. Light travels in straight lines, and we use arrows to indicate the direction of light. We call these lines rays of light. Sources of light. An object which produces its own light is called a luminous source, like sun, stars, or glowworms. An object which don't produce its own light but just reflects the light is called non-luminous source of light. Examples of non-luminous sources of light are moon, table, wall, etc. Does light pass through all matter? Well, light cannot pass through all materials. Some substances allow light to pass through and are called transparent, like glass, air, and water. Materials which don't allow light to pass are called opaque materials, and materials which only allow some light to pass through them are called translucent. An example of this one is the waxy paper or the frosted glass. What is shadow? If an opaque object is placed in front of a light source, some light rays are blocked. As a result, a dark region is formed that is called shadow. We have two parts of the shadow. Is the completely dark region that is called the umbra, and in the figure is this part here. And there is a partial dark region that is called the penumbra, and the penumbra is around the completely dark region. A dark shadow with sharp edges can be formed with a point light source. So a lamp cannot form a dark shadow with sharp edges, but just the point light source. Eclipses. So since we said if we block the light is formed shadow, we have these natural shadows that are formed in the Earth. The first is related with the solar eclipse and the second the lunar eclipse. Solar eclipse is formed when moon enters the region between the sun and the Earth. In this case, what happens? We cannot see the sun in this part of the Earth. So we have here a completely dark region that is related with the total eclipse of the sun. And around the total one, we have a partial, that is the partial eclipse. So is a partial solar eclipse. Lunar eclipse occurs when the Earth enters the region between the Sun and the Moon, that is here. How reflection forms. When you look in a mirror, you see a clear reflection of yourself. The picture that you see in the mirror is called an image. The reflection can be regular or a diffuse reflection. A regular reflection is when the light, rays of light, strikes on a mirror and is reflected in a regular form. And a diffuse reflection occurs when the light strikes on a rough surface. If in the mirror we have a smooth surface, when it strikes on a rough surface, the light rays that are parallel, they are not going to be parallel anymore after reflection, but they are diffuse, so they have different directions. Laws of reflection. So a law of reflection tells us about the direction in which the ray is reflected. The first law is related that all the elements of the ray are in the same plane, like incident ray, normal, and the reflected ray. You should know what is an incident ray, angle of incidence, angle of reflection, reflected ray, and normal. So the incident ray is the incoming ray that strikes the mirror. The normal is a perpendicular line to the point where the incident ray strikes the mirror, and the reflected ray is the outcoming ray. The angle between the incident ray and the normal is the angle of incidence. The angle between the normal and the reflected ray is the angle of reflection. So the law of reflection says that the angle of incidence, that is this angle here, is equal with the angle of reflection, that is this angle here. We said that on a mirror we see an image, but which are the properties of the image? The image is the same size as the object. The distance between the image and the mirror is equal to the distance between mirror and the object. The image is virtual. The image is behind the mirror, and the image is laterally inverted. What does it mean, laterally inverted? It means that our left side is the right side of the image. And virtual image means that the image cannot be displayed on the screen, but is behind of the mirror. How light bends. The change of direction of light ray when it enters or leaves a transparent material is called refraction, or refraction is said only the bending of light. Because of changing speed of light, change also the direction of light. This is the reason why the light bends. We know the speed of light in air is 300,000 km per second. In water is 225,000 km per second, and in glass is 200,000 km per second. Laws of refraction. First, we need to know that we have angles, the angle of incidence, angle between normal and incident angle, and angle of refraction, angle between normal and the refracted ray. The incident light, the refracted light, and the normal are all in the same plane. This is the first law. The second, light passing from an optically less dense medium into a denser medium bends toward the normal, and the light passing from an optically denser medium into a less dense medium bends away from the normal. So I explained the angle of incidence and the angle of refraction when we talk about I and R, because in some figures they are given with these symbols, I and R. But you can choose your own symbols to represent the angles. Another topic is the total internal reflection. So we know that when light passes from an optically denser medium into an optically less dense medium, it bends away from the normal. So when the angle of refraction is 90 degrees, the angle of incidence is called the critical angle. I'm going to explain this one with the figure that is in the next slide. So if light is incident at an angle greater than the critical angle, light cannot pass into the other medium, and this is called the total internal reflection. So in this case occurs the total internal reflection. So in this slide, that is the last slide, we have the refracted angle, that is the angle between the normal and the refracted ray. This angle here is 90 degrees. when this angle is 90 degrees, the incident angle here we said that is called the critical angle. If we have angles, so greater than the critical angle, so if we have angles that rays that are coming in this form, what happens? The light cannot pass into the second medium but is bended in the same medium, and this in this case occurs the total internal reflection. If I take an example, for example, water has a critical angle of 49 degrees. In this figure here are given different rays that are striking the boundary between the two mediums. The first ray is the ray that comes perpendicular to the mediums or the boundary. What happened with this ray? This ray doesn't change its direction, but it goes in the same direction. The second ray is a ray that is the angle of incidence is smaller than the critical angle. So what happened? In this case, the light ray passes into the second medium. In which form it passes? It goes away from the normal. So if the direction will be in this form, the light ray goes in this form. So this means that it goes away from the normal. The third ray is strikes the boundary at an angle equal with the critical angle that we said that is 49. So what happened in this case? The light cannot pass into the second medium but travels along the surface between the two boundaries, creating an angle of 90 degrees between the normal and this refracted ray. And the fourth ray is when the ray it has an angle of incidence greater than critical angle. In this case, the light cannot pass into the second medium but is reflected back in the same medium, creating in this form the total internal reflection. So these were the revision that I prepared for you. You can read also the notes that I gave to you during the lessons. And according to these notes and according to the revision here, the PowerPoints, also the book, you are going to make the exam. Good luck. Bye.